Alright guys, so we're back with the case ready to be polished. We have our buttons here that have just soaked in vinegar as well. They're fine. There's nothing really wrong with them. We're just going to polish them up as well. Not the pads, they're going to get put aside. But the buttons and the case is what we want to polish up, and the back cover obviously. So I'm going to take you through that process that I use and I have used in the past. Seems a bit crazy, but we have a drill here and that's going to turn our buffing wheel. I've got a very light compound on the tip here because we don't want to be pulling, or how it works is it's abrasive. That's how you polish, so we don't want to be using anything too abrasive on here. So I'm going to start with the brown and then we're going to end with the white, which is even finer again. So it's just like sanding, you know, except we're going to be kind of polishing as well. So let's get into it. And there we have it, guys. That's come up, bar some of the polishing compound that's gotten stuck in some of the nooks and crannies, which obviously I'll remove before it's a done product or put back together. Overall though, I'm starting to lose the light today. Overall though, it has brought back a little bit of the sheen. Still some deep surface scratches, which I don't know which will show up on camera here. These were obviously there when I received this Game Boy. But overall though, it's definitely restored a bit of that shine to the case, which is what I was going for. You're not going to remove the deep scratches, not without completely sanding it back. With like wet sanding it back with like a really light sandpaper and then buffing it or painting it. My goal here was just to try and remove the real light surface stuff, some of the discoloration from age and being left in the sun or being exposed to liquids, and then put a bit of that shine back on it, which, you know, I think you can see it there. I think I've done that. So we'll probably have to call it a day. I will be back tomorrow in this same video to do the back, and then we'll do the buttons and we'll put it all back together. And I need to let my hand rest from holding this damn thing. So to continue this case restoration, it's actually 48 hours later now. We've had our bits soaking in vinegar for 48 hours, and it's actually done a pretty good job to strip that rust and corrosion off. But to continue the efforts on the case, I've actually had some time to reflect about my methods. As you guys know, I used a polishing and buffing method on the front, which has yielded a good amount of sheen onto the case and a fairly good result, I think. However, something I do not like about that method is that in order for any polishing and buffing, it actually has to remove the surface layer. So it strips a tiny little bit off and it gets the grain running all the same direction, which reflects the light back at you in a uniform fashion. That's how you get that sheen. And that's all well and good, except Game Boys have a little bit of a textured look to them. Now, if you own a Game Boy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, that buffing and polishing method that I have used on the 3 before does slightly remove that texture. And while I do like the shiny results, I don't like losing that textured look at all. So it was kind of a compromised decision, I guess. You know, what do you value more, that textured look or a shinier case? So I decided to do a little bit of research, and what people have been suggesting is Mr. Sheen, which is a pretty cheap alternative. Now, Mr. Sheen, essentially from what I can gather, is it's a different process. You're not actually removing any plastic to achieve that shine. It's essentially putting, I guess you'd say, an artificial layer over the top which achieves that shine. Now, I'm okay with that. If I can achieve the same level of sheen and it doesn't feel greasy with this on it, I'm perfectly okay with that. And I have seen people use this before on old video games and other plastic restoration efforts. So I think we're going to give this a go on the back, and we're going to compare the two results. Hopefully it shows up on camera, but let's get into it. All right, there you go. It's pretty evident immediately that it doesn't give you the same level of sheen as what a typical buffing or polishing would, but it does bring a nice little, it does bring a level of that shine and luster back. And I have to say, I think if I were to do any more of these in the future, which I most definitely will be, I think I'm going to stick with this. It saves me, well, it would save anybody a lot of time and effort, as you saw previously in the video with all the, I know I used a drill, but I also have a Dremel for polishing the buttons that we're going to do in a minute, which I've also used on cases. It saves a lot of time and effort. And it does retain that textured look, which I highly doubt is going to, unfortunately, show up on the camera. But yeah, I'm relatively happy with it. I think it's a pretty good compromise. It does bring that luster back just enough, and it brings like a uniformity back to it as well. And a big issue with a lot of these older Game Boys is they lose that uniformity of sheen. If they have any sheen left at all, and that's just from all the handling they get. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do now, though, is we're going to put this aside, and I'll probably Mr. Sheen this as well, just to see what happens for shits and gigs. Probably get some on the screen, which would be good actually, because that obviously wouldn't get touched during the buffing process with a Dremel or a drill bit. But what we're going to move on to now, though, and what we will use the Dremel bit for, is the buttons. And we'll give the D-pad a bit of a hit as well. Because these, while they're in relatively good condition, that's not going to focus, there we go. While they're in relatively good condition, they do have a few little nicks and scratches, if I can get that to focus. Just a few on there. So hopefully that's apparent on there. It's nothing major. It's just general wear and tear. So what we're going to try and do is take that little surface layer of plastic off, and then which we'll use with a relatively still non-abrasive compound. The brown is more abrasive than the white, which is what we're going to finish with, which will hopefully bring that luster back after we've kind of taken that first layer of plastic off with the scratches. So let's go ahead and get into that. There you go, guys. Look at that. That is brilliant. Get all the compound out. Oh, there might be a little bit of compound left in the in-groove bit of the B, but damn, that is good. Significantly better than what it was before. So I'm just gonna give the A a bit of a touch up because I actually made a bit of an error, which I'm completely kicking myself over at the moment, which I only just noticed when I was doing the B, and that is I screwed up one of the settings on the Dremel. It was too fast. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just taken a little, it's because it was going too fast, it's literally either eaten the plastic away, abrased it away, rubbed it away, or it's melted it away. In one of the spots, it's just taking a little bit of a hit on the corner, which is annoying because you're meant to be restoring these things, not adding damage to them. But we'll just quickly touch this up and we'll move on. Yep. It's unfortunate. I put a little bit of a scuff in there that I'm not going to be able to remove, sorry. But that happens. It's a learning process. Now I need to know to triple check the Dremel at all times for the right speed. But this B button, I think this is the best button I've ever done. Like, that is good. All right, let's just... actually, I think the D-pad actually looks really good. So I think we just might Mr. Sheen that. And then all our parts are polished, and then we'll move on to actually putting this back together. Let's crack on and let's finish putting this back together. So what we have here is a working Game Boy Color board from the Game Boy, the Green Kiwi Game Boy that you guys saw previously in the video. So we're going to drop that in. We're going to hook the original LCD up from this one. All the buttons and everything original. And then we'll see what it looks like and turn it on. One working Game Boy. Let's put Pokemon in to actually see if it boots. Obviously it should, because it's my original Game Boy Color board from the Green Kiwi Game Boy. But there we go. At least this case has lived to see another day, even if it is via another motherboard. Case came up really well. Buttons came up really well. Bar one of the corners on the A, which I scuffed with the Dremel because the speed was wrong, which was a shame. But live you learn, and that's what this whole video and process is about. This is not the surefire way of restoring these Game Boys by any stretch of the imagination. This is just me showing you guys, essentially, like I said at the beginning of the video, tinkering. And with that tinkering comes learning and knowledge. So I'm going to keep playing around with these builds. I'm going to keep buying these broken Game Boys. I can't remember if I mentioned at the start of the video, but I'm going to Japan next week. So I'm going to try and bring back with me a heap of these broken Game Boys. Hopefully, because I can get hands-on time with them over there, hopefully I can avoid the same extreme corrosion that was happening in this one on the board, which killed it. I might tend to go for ones that look like they're having a bit of LCD damage, like burn-in or something, because I have had a lot of success fixing 2 of those. But there you go, guys. So I hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any tips, feedback, or constructive criticism, by all means, please leave it down below. Like I said, this wasn't a tutorial or a guide. This is just me showing you guys what I get up to, and that's basically getting my hands dirty and screwing around with this kind of stuff. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to check out the rest of the GameCast channel, where you'll find a variety of other content. Be sure to check out some of my podcasts as well, Dragon Ball G Fighters and Pocket Edition. Until next time, guys, have a good one.